This border war, fans called it Moonshine Throwdown. I think that's the best rivalry name, an unofficial name, but the best rivalry name I've come across.
Yeah, unofficial that should become official soon enough.
Embrace it.
Green keeps it himself, looking for the end zone. Isaiah Green, touchdown! Quarterback keeper for 17, and Marshall back up by 2 touchdowns.
Story toward Jackson, got separation to the 20, to the 10, and he will go. Lucky Jackson from 54 yards out. After a Western Kentucky record 16 catches a week ago, he gives the Hilltoppers the early lead today.
Pressure off the edge. Screen delivers. What a catch for Levias, who brings it in. Armani Levias to the house. Touchdown, Marshall.
And will 46 come on the field? Yes, he will. Corey Munson, the freshman, the true freshman out of Warner Robins, Georgia. As long as 48. This will be from 52 yards. From the far hash mark, John Haggerty, the punter, will hold. Jared Nash will snap it. It's definitely long enough, and it is good! Unbelievable. The true freshman, Corey Munson, hammers it home from 52 yards.
What a clutch kick there to win the ball game.
Welcome back to the Moonshine Throwdown podcast. Trace with you. I'm riding solo compared to my usual combatants. Steven and Katie are both out right now. They're working, living the life and stuff. So I've got a little extra time and got 2 really, really good guests I'm excited about on tonight to help talk about some pretty cool stuff. We got Casey Knopf. He's Marshall resident, Marshall fan. He does the Journey series. I'm sure you all have seen that on Twitter and YouTube and everything for the football team and basketball team. He does an excellent job with those. Those are awesome. I always look forward to those. I think all Herd fans do, honestly. It's really good stuff. So I'm excited to have him on for the first time. And then we got Jared. Jared, I'm just going to go ahead and let you say your last name because I know I'm going to screw it up. Go ahead.
Rosdeutscher. I'm sure you would have said it right, but I'll save you the difficulty of saying it.
I greatly appreciate that. Jared's with the Towel Rack, WKU. Me and him have been Twitter boys for years now. Cool to finally link up on a podcast and stuff. Really looking forward to hearing what y'all talk about and hearing some different stuff. So, Casey, I guess since that's this 100-pound or 1,000-pound elephant in the room is this quarantine and this COVID stuff going on. What have you been doing lately in the quarantine? What's been going on, man?
Just revamping, getting new techniques, new stuff for next season. We've been storyboarding a lot for some off-season stuff and just working, just getting ready, just acting like kind of this isn't happening and hoping for the best, hoping we have a good season next year. So,
yeah, man, no doubt. I just want this to get over as quickly as possible. Yeah. I think everybody wants that. So, we need football. That's all I'm saying.
100%.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
It is a necessity. Jared, what have you been doing during all this stuff?
I've still been working, staying pretty steady with that as a barista. And, I mean, of course, just keeping up with all the different stuff going on in the sports world that is happening, like new commitments and all of that going on. Like Western just picked up a new quarterback for the 2021 class today, guy out of Washington State. So 3-star guy. He ought to be pretty good, but it's really interesting to see all the stuff that's still kind of going on, just holding on to that as long as I can and hopes for this fall.
No doubt. Yeah. Western also signed that Maryland kid, right?
Yeah, I think Pigram is how you say his name. They call him Piggy. We talked to one of the Maryland blogs, and they were able to help us and kind of give us some insight on him. And they said that we're getting a pretty solid player. So I think he could be a more athletic version of what Ty Story was last season. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's going to do.
Yeah, it seems like there's definitely a good competition for the quarterback position for Western this year, definitely, especially with Story gone. But, yeah, so cool stuff there. So the big topic that we really were going to talk about, might as well just start with this, is the talk about, well, it's not really talk. It's apparently confirmed that it's going to be the end of bonus play for Conference USA men's basketball, or basketball in general. They're ending the bonus play, the pod play. They've just been very opinionated over the last couple of years. There's been a lot of differing opinions on it. The article that I'm going to reference here is the Denton Record Chronicle from Denton, Texas. I'm just going to read a couple parts of it just to kind of catch everybody up in case you haven't seen it. But one of the paragraphs states, Conference USA is doing away with bonus play in men's basketball. What will replace the league's unique scheduling format is still up for debate. And then it says multiple Conference USA sources confirmed to the Denton Record Chronicle on Thursday that the league ending the system after 2 seasons is a mere formality. One source said simply bonus play is done. And then, a conference source was careful to say that nothing is definitive until league officials approve changing the system for the 14-team conference at its spring meetings. So a lot of kind of just unknown stuff with what they're going to do. Charleston Gazette Mail actually, I think, broke it initially. There's been a lot of things talking about how the league source said options for a new format are being considered. Among those options is an 18-game conference slate that would have the league's teams play home-and-home series against teams closest in the league from a geographical standpoint. So they're talking about some maybe better options, maybe better logistical options, stuff like that. And I mean, for me personally, into the pod play thing, like I kind of had an open mind with it, but after I've seen it a couple years, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like to me it really just couldn't work because like I understand the whole point of it to try to raise RPIs and try to get, more than one team in the tournament. It's Conference USA. It's not. Yeah.
The year we won and Middle was like 22nd or 21st going into the conference tournament, made it to the semis and then doesn't make the tournament. That just proved that doesn't work. Like it makes no sense.
Makes no sense. And you look at it from that perspective, the year that Marshall made it in and the year that Middle was great and then got bounced, that year there were 4 teams in Conference USA with 25 or more wins. That would have been the best year to do it. That would have been the year to do it, but unfortunately it was a year later. But
I love seeing MTSU get bounced in the first round and then not make the tournament. I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah, well, I know you thought it was beautiful. I thought it was beautiful because Marshall didn't have to play him again.
Wait, was it the first round they got bounced?
It was the quarters. They had a bye.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Didn't know.
Still, I think the first game they had, losing to Southern Miss the way that they did, that was pretty sad.
The 9 seed, the Fighting Doc Sadlers took it to him, but.
Him and his sweatpants. Never forget.
I know. Never forget. So, Jared, I'll just start with you on this. What's your opinion on them ditching pod play? Did you like pod play? Is it the right move? Are they rushing too quickly into it? Just kind of lay it all out there.
I mean, it's a tough decision to make, definitely. I mean, obviously you understand why they have to do it. Just trying to eliminate that travel budget. Say that Marshall and Western and Old Dominion are some of the top teams, and then they have to go and play like UTSA and UTEP, like on the far side of the country. I mean, obviously you're going to be bouncing between a little bit of everywhere. So, and of course, like the Florida schools too. Like, I mean, I don't know how good FIU or FAU will be next year. I mean, some of them have shown some promise, but it's just the whole thing with Conference USA is that it's a mess geographically. So I think by doing that, I think it'll help eliminate some costs for some of the schools and I think it'll be a good decision. I mean, I'll miss it. I did like playing some of the better teams in the top half and everything because it makes the games more fun to watch and it matters a lot more because at least you're kind of seeing the kind of competition that you have to go up against. It helps build your team. So, I mean, it's a bummer, but ultimately with our conference, it comes down to whoever wins the conference title in the tournament anyways. And it was a nice little addition for a little bit. It didn't get to fully serve its purpose or like what you were talking about. Like, I think the year that Middle lost, that was the one that they really should have had something like that. But hindsight's 2020. But it's a bummer, but I think I'll be all right without it.
Yeah, I'm kind of back to the point. I think it more is just the timing of it was off. I mean, like I said, I think if you would have implemented it that 2017-18 year, it would have got 2 teams in the tournament. I firmly believe that because Middle had a pretty great resume that year. I mean, they only lost like 5 games or so before the Southern Miss game. I mean, they were really a really good team. And then, of course, Western ended up making a Final Four run in the NIT. Marshall, we know what they did. And then Old Dominion was 25-7 and didn't even get an NIT invite. To me, that's a freaking crime. I mean,
even the year that we lost to you guys in the conference title game, as heartbreaking as that was, I mean, I still don't think we would have gotten in if we would have had pod play that year either.
Right.
So I don't know what kind of good it does. It still kind of comes down to the strength of competition you have in your non-conference as much as anything.
It does. It definitely does. That just shows you really have to schedule some people, and you have to try to beat some of those people. Yeah, no doubt about it. So Casey, what do you think about it? Do you think it's a good decision that they ditch it? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Just kind of lay it all out there like Jared.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was I guess it was a good idea at the beginning. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to miss it. I mean, it made for good content because you could play around it. And so in that aspect, yeah, I mean, I guess I'll miss it a little bit, but not really. I mean, I think we should just play out like everybody else. Like, just play everybody twice, home and away. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, but that just seems like it makes the most sense to me. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, it didn't seem like, I mean, the system before the pod play wasn't exactly the greatest, but like it at least went, I mean, it yielded the same result as pod play did. So, I mean, and here's the thing that I thought about too, is that this past year or this season, the past season, of course, it didn't matter because the tournament didn't happen or anything. But like Marshall would have, I think they played like UTSA or UTEP in the last game of the pod play, and then they had to stay in Texas because the conference tournament was in Texas. Like, to me, that's just a complete like logistical nightmare. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think if you got rid of it, which it looks like they are, then that will definitely help in travel costs. And right now, that's a big issue because you see so many conferences and mid-majors cutting sports because of this COVID stuff. So, I mean, it's a weird situation, but I don't know. Ultimately, I think it's a decent – I mean, it had potential, but I think it would have been, let's say, I don't know, another mid-major – I can't think of another mid-major conference right now off the top of my head, but one that had a little better quality overall basketball, I think it would have worked. But because Conference USA is so top-heavy, it just didn't work. But I don't know. It's always kind of been a bag for people, so we'll see what happens. But I think ultimately it's not that big of a deal. So we'll get into another pretty cool topic here. This is one I shot at you all and see if you come up ideas. I was just thinking of this. This is just quarantine thoughts right here. So I was thinking about the top 10 games in Joan C. Edwards Stadium history. I was thinking, there's been some really, really good games. So I thought, well, maybe we can talk about that on a podcast. We get the Joan in there, get the Houch's top 10 games in there. Jared, I know he's got some games lined up for that. So I'm really interested to hear what you all think for that, because I have a list of course, my 10 from Marshall, and I want to see how mine and Casey's intertwine or whatever. I want to see the differences and stuff. But Jared, since you're the lone Western recipient here, I'll go ahead and start with you on this one. What is your top 10? I guess you can start at 10. And like I said, it really doesn't matter how you wanted to do it. I didn't include any losses in mine, even though there are obviously a few games that could have made it that were losses. But you can do it however you
which
want.
ones could you be talking about?
Yeah, there's that one game that happened a few years ago. I think we know what that one was. I'm not putting that one anywhere on my list.
Yeah, I figured, but I did the same thing that you did. You told me that you did only wins. I did too. I had a lot of fun putting this together. Mine's a little more interesting than maybe another typical Western person's list would be. But with number 10, I started with this past season, our win against Army. I think that was a really solid win that we had because, I mean, you saw how they played Michigan in the first game of the season. They almost beat them in the Big House, and then they came into the Houch, and we had some stellar defense that game. I think we only held them to 8 points, and it was just a fun game to be at. It was Military Appreciation Night, and we had a lot of awesome stuff set up for that. We had some Black Hawk helicopters come through. We had a lot of first responders and military personnel in the building too, so that was really cool to be able to kind of tip the hat to them. Number 9, I had a win against Bowling Green State in 2015. That was a season opener game that season, and that was just one of those huge explosive offense kind of games that we had those years, like 2014, 2015, 2016, some of our best offense we've ever had. And that just kind of set the pace for that year. And it was such a fun game to watch because I think that Bowling Green State ended up doing really good in the MAC that year as well. So that was a fun one. Number 8, I had the big sellout against Southern Miss in 2012. That was the first time I think we had played them, at least in the Houch. That was when we were still in the Sun Belt. And I think there was like 23,000 people at that game. It was a pretty big attended game, and we ended up winning it pretty well. So whenever you have a big sellout game like that, I think those are really special and memorable. And number 7, I'm sure you'll appreciate this one. It was our first home win against Marshall in 2015. I definitely remember that one. It was cold. Yeah, that was a good win. I think it was like 49-28 or something like that. But that whole season is special to me. Well, I'll talk about it more in a little bit, but that's still an important one to include. Number 6, I had the 2016 Conference USA title win against Louisiana Tech. Like, that seems kind of low on my list, but my top 5 is like completely ridiculous because of some of the games that we've had in that house. But that was a special one. I didn't get to go to as many games that season as I normally would have been able to, but seeing Forrest Lamp and Mike White and all of those guys be able to end up the way that they did was really special and get that conference win. Number 5, I don't know if you guys have heard the story. I'll give a little bit of backstory with this one, but it was when we played the Russian Tsars in 1992. Have you guys heard the story? Because it is absolutely crazy.
No.
Man. You are going to love this. So in 1992, like Western was facing some big budget cuts, as in like they almost got rid of our football program kind of budget cuts.
Oh, wow.
And they were trying to think of different things that we could do to get some fans in the stadium and just have some really interesting football matches. So all these people were digging around. Of course, Jack Harbaugh, he was still the coach at the time. And they ended up hooking up with a team from Russia that basically consisted of like former professional wrestlers, like Olympian athletes in different sports, and all of these different like big kind of people that they had in Russia at the time. And they put together like a semi-pro football team. So they were able to get hooked up with them and schedule them for the October of 92. And the coach was from the United States. And the craziest thing about this is that when they were practicing at the Houch the day before the game, their head coach got arrested because he owed like more than $15,000 in like child support. God. So he straight up gets arrested while they're practicing on the field. The entire team sees their coach get taken away, and then Jack Harbaugh comes over to their quarterback and says, "I'm sure you know the offense pretty good. We still expect you guys to play tomorrow. I'm sure this is rough, but we still have a ball game that we're trying to do." So all of this happens, and we still end up playing them, and I think we won like 42-14. It was a big win, even though we weren't that great that season. But that's just such a random college football moment, because how often do you ever play like an international team? So not only did we get to represent just our college, we got to represent our country for a little bit and beat the commies in Russia. So that was a beautiful sports moment for Western. Yeah, so I definitely wanted to throw that out there just because of how random it is. Number 4.
Anything like that.
Yeah. You have to look up. There's a bunch of articles I think the WKU Herald did that kind of highlights. It has a bunch of different quotes from like Coach Harbaugh and the athletic director at the time. That it's really interesting. So look that up if you haven't before, if you're listening. Number 4, I had the 2011 win over Louisiana Lafayette that broke the massive home loss streak that we had. See, there was a very dark time we had once we transitioned into FBS that we had a winless season. And then the year after that, we were 2-10. And in those 2 seasons, we didn't have a single home win. So that was just really depressing times. I mean, when I was in high school, there was a running joke that said if there was ever a tornado in the area, go to Western's football field because there hasn't been a touchdown there in years. So that was really dark times. Yeah, but we finally got that home win in 2011 against Louisiana Lafayette. I will never call them just Louisiana because I will never. But that was a big win for them, and it kind of got us going in the right direction. Number 3, I had to include one of the other rivals that we have, MTSU. In 2017, we had an absolutely ridiculous game against them at home. It was 3 overtimes, and it came down to us making a last-second field goal in the 3rd overtime. That was just a crazy, crazy game to have been at. Whenever you're playing a rival game, like if we had a game like that, it would be one of the most memorable games of all time. I mean, even thinking back to 2014, but even adding more overtimes to that, could you imagine? It's just nuts.
I couldn't.
Yeah, I think me and my dad were watching that game in 2014, and it's still thinking about that. It was crazy.
Oh yeah,
it was the same kind of vibe. Number 2, this may be a little disputed by other people, but I put the 2002 FCS national title team. We did get a national championship at the FCS level, which was really awesome to have, and we got to play that game in the Houch, so having that moment is really special. Anytime you win a national championship, even if it's not like Division I, if it's FCS level, I think that's a really good accomplishment. And number 1, I had to go with one that's really special and personal to me, was the first Conference USA title game that we won against Southern Miss in 2015. See, the 2015 season was when I was a senior at Western, so I got to still be in the student section for that game. It was the last home game that we would have that season, and being able to get our first conference championship the way that we did there, that was really special. Being able to rush the field, Trace, I know what you know what that feels like. Just that whole energy, being able to celebrate with the team afterwards. So it was just kind of a storybook ending for my college career. Being able to see Western when I was in high school be a winless team, and then when I graduate from there and being able to see them get 12 wins that season and be nationally ranked, that was really special. So that would definitely be my top 10.
Oh, yeah, man. Those are some awesome games. I was unaware of most of those, and that's a great list. I mean, in that 2015 Western, I think, in my opinion, in the post-realignment era of Conference USA, the 2 best teams, you can do whatever order you want. I think the 2 best teams are Marshall 2014 and Western 2015. That's
I would agree with that.
That's just my opinion. I just think those teams were on a different level compared to most of the rest of the conference since then. I mean, and it showed because they both ended ranked in the top 25 in the AP. So, I mean, that 2015 Western team was pretty lethal for sure. So, Casey, I'll go ahead and start with yours list before mine. I'll save mine for last. Not that I'm any more important or anything, but I just want to hear your list. I'm really excited to hear it. So, fire away.
I would imagine ours are different, very different, I would assume. So, number 10, I did Southern Miss in 2015 because that was our last win, and that was actually the last game Devin Johnson ran in the Joan. So I did that one, not because it was a huge win, but just because Devin's probably my favorite player, at Marshall history, just because I was in college while he was playing. So, then I did 9. I did Toledo 2002, the MAC championship.
Yep.
Just watched that actually. I think at Easter on YouTube. Just watched it back. So wild how we were up so big, and then they made a comeback, and then we held on to win. It was just a good game. And then anytime you get to watch Byron play is, special. Man. This is kind of just for fun. This game. 2018 when we beat FAU and they had negative 27 rushing yards.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
And then he went forward on 4th and 3 from his own 10 or whatever.
It's just
that sounds like Mike Sanford.
It was so funny. So I just put that on there for fun. 7, I did the Youngstown State game in '92. I'm sure for other Marshall fans that's way up on the list, but I just I was born in '97. I was so far removed from it that I don't know. It's obviously a big win. And then after that, I put Montana in '96. Then I did Western Michigan in '99. I actually had a piece of that turf in my house growing up, where Tarpley caught the touchdown. Is that his name? Pinkerton.
Yep.
I don't know why I said Tarpley, but when Pinkerton caught it, it was in my house somewhere. So, and then I did Western last year, just because the ending was just so good.
Oh man.
What ending? I don't remember what you're talking about.
That one field goal.
As I stick my fingers into my ears.
Not the one field goal or the 2.
3.
It was the 3rd one that he drained.
I mean, he's in the NFL now. You got to give him credit.
I was so I was standing there, and fun fact: there's a reason I don't have footage of that. My camera died, so I don't have any footage of that. But luckily, somehow, I don't know why, I'd filmed so much of him warming up throughout the year that that game, I was I'm just going to focus on other players. And he was kicking from where he made the field goal from. And I had just happened to be you know what, I'll film him one time just to make sure I have it. And I ended up having it. And I don't know, it was just crazy. So that was fun for me just because making the video for that was so fun. Yeah. And then Miami, Ohio, 2002. I was in kindergarten. And it was I don't know if it was a Friday night game.
It was a Tuesday night game.
It was a weeknight game. I remember that, and I remember I couldn't get in trouble at school, and I would have been able to go, and I got in trouble at school, and I had to stay at my pawpaw's house, which was like a couple blocks from the stadium, so I could see the lights, but I couldn't go to the game, so I could hear it. And that was the game that Stan ran the touchdown in.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just remember being a kid and just like, I don't know, I just wanted to be there so bad. Number 2 for me is Purdue in 2015.
Oh, man.
It was hot. It was really, really hot. And I don't know, as I said, Devin Johnson being my favorite player. I think that game, like if you just watch it back, the determination that he had to win.
Yeah.
I know that the Last Dance is going on and everyone's talking about Jordan, and I've tweeted multiple times his determination to win is crazy, but like Rockhead was on it, like was just different. The fact that like now that we know the pain that he was playing through, like because of how he got hurt in 2014, I don't know, man. Like that's just impressive because those dudes from Purdue, I mean, they were just big. I wouldn't say that they were like a great football team by any means, but like they were just big.
Big boys,
big dudes, and to get hit like that, and like knowing that he's in pain, and he just kept coming, and then to have the like outside of Taekwon Lang for him to have like the game clinching touchdown was pretty legit.
Yeah.
And then number 1 was the 2014 conference title. I mean, I think that says it all. I mean, that year was just ridiculous. I remember like I lived in Roanoke, Virginia at the time, so I was driving 3.5 hours every home game. I went to ODU, like maybe even Miami, Ohio that year to start the year, but like I was just traveling, just going and watching because they like if you grew up before me, you saw winning football. Like right. I caught very little of it because like I was young when Leftwich was there. I saw terrible years of Marshall football. We didn't win. It was bad. It was hard to watch. And then 2013 came along. We got a glimpse. And 2014 was just special. Even though Western beat us, like I take nothing away from that. That was like they played very well. 67 points is a lot of points. And we had a good defense. Like there's no excuses for that. Western was just they were trending upwards, as you all said. Like look at them in 2015. Yep. So outside of that, like we just were so fun to watch. So I say that conference championship game, even though wasn't that where Cato almost dropped a snap on the kneel?
When you're trying to kneel it, yeah.
There's nothing more Marshall than for that to be how we win the conference championship game.
You're so right.
So, but yeah, that's my top 10. I know that it's probably gonna be different from a lot of yours, but that's just what I thought.
I'll be honest. I think out of 10, I think I'd at least have half of those, probably more actually. Nice. But yeah. But I mean, my orders are different on a lot of them. But like I have a lot of the same ones as you.
Nice.
So that's a great list. But yeah, that 2014 team though they were something.
Special.
They were. I mean that team complete from top to bottom was stellar.
Yep.
But okay, so I'll go ahead and get into my top 10 here. I only threw in one game in the aforementioned Schneider era, and you probably can guess what game that is. But that's at number 10, the Houston game in 2008. Oh. What a game that was! I didn't go to that game because I was a freshman in high school at that point, and I couldn't. It was a weeknight game. It was Tuesday night, and like it was just I didn't go to all the games back then because I was too young and everything. But like. What a freaking crazy game. Houston with Case Keenum at quarterback with amazing offensive talent with Dana Holgorsen as the offensive coordinator, Kevin Sumlin as head coach. Marshall absolutely routs Houston 37-23, and it was not that close. It was 37-9 in the fourth quarter. That game, Marshall, and that was the game where Marshall debuted the green helmets, which I freaking stand to this day. I don't care what anybody says. I love the green helmets. I was hyped as crap for that, and then of course that was also the game where Patrick Edwards, the Houston receiver, had a compound fracture because he ran into the band cart in the back of the end zone. I mean that game. Nasty. Have you seen that, Jared?
I have not, but those compound fractures are no joke. I definitely don't want to see that.
Yeah, it was just so quiet. Like it just got so quiet.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't. I know on the broadcast you couldn't actually see it, but if you probably find it on YouTube, him running into it, kind of bad. Obviously,
It was horrible.
it was bad. Yeah, but that notwithstanding, with that horrible moment, that was a phenomenal game. I think that was the peak of the Schneider era right there. I think that was the best. I mean, Houston was a very solid team that year, and Marshall absolutely just beat the brakes off of them. So that's my number 10. My number 9 is the 1997 MAC championship against Toledo, the snow game with Randy Moss putting on a show. Awesome game. They won 34-14. Had a really slow first half. I think it was like 7-3 at halftime. Toledo was winning, I think, and Marshall really didn't get it going until midway through the third quarter. When they got it going, they got it going. The field covered in snow completely. I mean, it's just a complete winter wonderland. That's always a game. I've said for years I would always love to be at a game with snow like that just once. I've never had the chance to. I've been going to football games a long time, but I have not had that yet. And the people that were at that game had it, and it was awesome. So that was my number 9, even though I wasn't there, but whatever. Number 8. This one holds a pretty special place in my heart. It wasn't the most significant game, but I think it was an absolutely incredible game. That was the game against East Carolina in 2011, better known as the Aaron Dobson catch game. That's got like 2 million, 3 million views on YouTube. It went viral. That catch was the number 2 play of the year for SportsCenter in 2011. But, I mean, outside of that catch, that game was fantastic. I mean, and because the winner of that game, both teams came in at 5-6, and the winner of that game went to a bowl game, and the loser didn't. And Marshall won the game 34-27 in overtime, and that game had everything. It was absolutely amazing game. And that ECU kicker made a 57-yard and 58-yard field goal in the same half. I was like, what is this guy on right now? Freaking guy he just drilled 2 kicks of that magnitude. It was crazy. But yeah, that was a dramatic, awesome game. One of the many great games in the Marshall ECU series. So that's number 8 for me. Number 7 is the Conference USA Championship 2014, Louisiana Tech. The only reason I put it at 7 and not higher is because, quite frankly, I was not very impressed with the game itself. I mean, they really didn't get going until the last couple minutes of it really didn't get really good until the very end, when Marshall finally went ahead and Cato to McManus and, Neville Hewitt, the game-stealing interception and all that. But, I mean, as far as my favorite moment, though, as a Marshall fan, going on the field after that game and the celebration and following the goalpost down Third Ave and all that, that was special. I mean, that was absolutely just – you were like on cloud 9. There was nothing cooler than that. So that's my number 7. Number 6, I have Montana 96, the FCS National Championship game. Pretty good story to that game. The year before in Huntington, Marshall lost to Montana in the national championship game points at the very end. They get another chance in 96. They absolutely just destroy them. 49-29, and it wasn't that close. It was like completely over with. And like, of course, that was Randy Moss as a freshman, just showing out like nobody's business. Awesome stuff. Eric Kresser was the quarterback then. Really good win. So that's my number 6. Number 5 is Purdue 2015. For me personally, that's my favorite game I've ever been to for Marshall football. That's my favorite.
Agreed. 100%.
I just think that game had it all. I mean, I'm just trying to picture all the storylines involved. Like, first of all, it was a sold out crowd, 38,000, almost 39,000.
Wow.
It was a really big crowd, and that's Marshall. For the crowds like that don't happen very often for Marshall, and that was a huge crowd.
Yeah.
Sunday afternoon game on Fox Sports 1. It was the only game on at the time. Taekwon Lang bookend pick sixes. Freaking, are you kidding me? Like
first play is unbelievable.
First play pick six. Me too. I don't know how many times I've watched the highlights from that game, but like it's got to be hundreds of times.
Yeah.
And then I have the game on DVD, and I burned it on there, and I mean I savor every second of that thing. And then the second pick six, I think, in my opinion, that's the loudest that stadium has ever gotten.
Yeah.
It was deafening. I mean, you would have thought I sent a video to a couple people a while back of some highlights from the game from a local news station in West Virginia. And like, if you listen to that pick six from their recording. It literally sounds like there's 100,000 people there. I mean, it was insane how loud it got. And I mean, that was a phenomenal game. Marshall won 41-31. Awesome game. So that's my number 5. Number 4 is Miami, Ohio, 2002. I wasn't at that one, but I vividly remember it. That game had a lot of craziness. Of course, that was the week after Byron got hurt and he couldn't play this game. Stan Hill, miraculous game, really had a great game. They had the game-winning touchdown run with just a few seconds left. Marshall won 36-34. That was also the game where a Miami coach punched a Marshall fan on the field.
And they trashed our press boxes too, didn't they?
Yes. And then another coach trashed the press box, and the coach got sent to jail for the night. He had to spend the night in jail. I mean, that game was insane. And, it was a must-win game because if Marshall would have lost that game, they would not have played for the MAC championship that year. It would have been Miami. So that was a must-win game without Byron Leftwich. Just madness. I mean, it was hard to believe that all that crap happened. But Marshall and Miami had a pretty intense rivalry back in the day. Not many people know that, but, Marshall and Miami was a legit rivalry in the MAC days. So that's number 4. Number 3 is Toledo 2002 MAC championship. You mentioned that one, I know. That game was epic. I mean, Marshall got up to a pretty big lead. They were up 28-10 in that game. And then Toledo racked up a bunch of points after that, took a 32-28 lead. And then after that, it just went back and forth. And then at the very end, with under a minute to go, Leftwich finds Darius Watts for a big, long touchdown. Marshall goes up 49-45. They managed to hold them off at the end and win it dramatically. Epic game. I mean, that's one of my fondest moments as a fan. I wasn't at that one, but I remember vividly watching it at my grandparents' house, and that was just a special moment for me. I was only 8 then. It was just a special moment, and I wish I would have been there, but being able to watch it and hold the memories like that's special too. So that's my number 3. Number 2 is the MAC championship '99 Western Michigan. I mean, that's famous. The game is all get out. Marshall was down 23-0 in the third quarter. Rallied back, ended up winning at 34-30. Chad Pennington to Eric Pinkerton. Pinkerton's first career touchdown catch. They won it dramatically. They kept their undefeated season alive. They ended up finishing 10th in the AP poll that year, 13-0, MAC champions, Motor City Bowl champions. That's the best team Marshall's ever had, bar none. Epic game. I mean, that's another one I just wish I would have been at, but it's got to be high on the list, I think. And number 1, you kind of alluded to it. A lot of have this game high, and that's the Youngstown State 92 national championship game. For me, I mean, obviously I wasn't quite alone. I was a couple years after that, but I mean, that was, I think I've said this to a couple people, I think that was the sign, that was the point in time in which you knew Marshall football had arrived. That was the point, because in the previous few years before that, they were starting to build momentum. They played for the 1987 national title and lost. And then they played in the 91 game as well and lost to Youngstown. So the year after, they beat them 31-28 on Willie Merrick, a game-winning field goal. His first career field goal attempt, wins a national championship. I mean, you can't write a script better than that. So I mean, that game is just legendary beyond words in Marshall folklore, if you want to call it that. So I mean, that's my list. Pretty stacked lists all around the board. I really like the Western games, especially the one against a bunch of foreign people, which I did not see coming.
Bunch of Russians. Anytime we play the Russians in anything, I mean, always got to go for America.
You better believe it, America. I mean, come on. But no, that game, that's crazy. I had a feeling mine and Casey's list would be pretty similar, even if the order wasn't exactly how we agreed upon, but I knew a lot of the same games would be there. So awesome stuff there, definitely. Moving on to a little different topic here, we were going to talk about a little bit about looking ahead at the schedules. I always like doing that, seeing the future non-conference schedules, home games, and so forth. And both teams, I haven't looked at Western's really in depth, but I did peek at it earlier. They have some really nice games lined up, and of course Marshall's got some nice ones lined up. So Jared, I don't know how much you've looked into this, but what do you think about Western's non-conference schedules line up in the next few years? I know it goes through most of the 2020s from what I saw. So what do you like? What games do you think are going to be really good? And what matchups are you excited for and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I mean, we've got some pretty good non-conference opponents. I mean, we've got some more SEC schools. I think it's in 2023 is when we play Alabama again. Sadly, they didn't want to do a home and home with us. Go figure. I mean, that's
Yeah.
weak, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
But even next year, like I know we have Indiana that we play them in Bloomington next year, but the year after that we play them in the Houch. So I think that's going to be a well-attended game. Of course, I mean, seeing what the quarterback situation is going to look like. I mean, that could still end up being a really, really good game. Even next season, like we have Liberty, which Liberty is new to the FBS, but they have Hugh Freeze as their head coach, which used to be the coach for Ole Miss, and they had a pretty solid team last year. I think they went 7-5. So, I mean, we've lost to FCS schools the past 2 years, and I definitely don't want to sleep on this one at all.
Liberty's
so I'm definitely a little worried about that. Yeah. And we just scheduled LSU again, I think, for 2024. That's going to be another one. We played them in 2015, I think. Yeah, that was one of the few losses we had was down in Baton Rouge because it was like an absolute downpour of a game. Like it was water gushing everywhere. It was just a sloppy game all around. I feel like if it was dry, it would have been a really close contest. But we'll have LSU. We'll play them down there. We even play Ohio State. That's another one that I don't think we've played before. So it's going to be interesting to see how we do in the big house, see how that goes. I'd love to see us get an upset at least over one of those teams. But, I mean, it depends on if we can keep Coach Helton that long and some of the staff that he's got. If we can keep a solid defense even after D'Angelo Malone leaves, I think we have a pretty good shot of still maintaining success. So it'll be really interesting to see how some of those big powerhouse games kind of turn out.
Yeah, man, for sure. Ohio State, here, I'll give a little bit of advice. Just hope and pray that Ohio State doesn't have a kicker that can nail a 55-yarder and win. Just hope and pray because Marshall's seen that story. They've seen it, 2004. Freaking Mike Nugent, one of the few kicks that he made in his freaking career. Friggin' 55-yarder, 24-21 to beat Marshall. Oh, I remember that game well. But no, they got some good. That's some good games lined up for Western there, no doubt. I mean, anytime you get
the Ohio State game is one I definitely want to try to go to because I mean I've been to Columbus before, mainly just passing through, but they got a lot of cool stuff to do, and of course their marching band is phenomenal. They're known as one of the best in the whole country, so I feel like taking an experience up there would be really cool. So that could be one to go to.
Oh, no doubt. That's a bucket list game, I think, for about anybody there. Yeah, that's going to be exciting. Casey, I know we both – well, I have a graphic, and I know you've looked at it, I'm sure. Looking at some of the Marshall games coming up. I mean, this year especially, stacked.
And then the schedule this year is phenomenal.
Phenomenal. And then the next few years, we know we got some nice games lined up for the Herd there. So what do you think about the future games for the Herd?
Just to briefly touch on 2020, I think the fact we got Pitt and Boise in the Joan, I know that we did deals with them and everything, but I just think that's awesome. Same year to have both of them there, like that just gets me excited. Even from the fans' perspective, like that's what we want to see. We want to see those games. So I'm pumped. I mean, 2020 is looking good, and then I'm going to look here at this graphic. So Virginia Tech obviously sticks out in my mind. I know that's 2023. We get them in Huntington. I'm pumped for that. Navy, same year. And then we're redoing the Appy State series, which has me excited because they're nasty, man. Like year in, year out, those boys ball. So I'm excited to play against them. And then obviously this year we have Eastern too. We got Carolina back. And then we play Liberty too. And for me, that's like a fun game because like I said, I used to live in Roanoke, Virginia, and that's a lot of my friends went to school was Liberty. And I always cheer for them too, just because, I like the school. And they're getting there. They're going to be a good team. Gandy Golden, the guy that got drafted by the Redskins, that dude's a stud. He's going to probably be really, really good at the next level. And like a lot of people just don't know because he played for Liberty. So Hugh Freeze has got something cooking. I guarantee it. They're going to be nice the next couple of years.
Yeah, and I mean their football program is on the rise, and I mean just looking at their basketball program, the success they've had with it is even bigger than that. And having those huge teams that have been really successful, so they're definitely trending up.
Yeah, they're on the up and up. So I mean that's definitely not like I always make jokes with my friends like Little Liberty. They're not going to do nothing to us, but it's like now, maybe not next year they would do anything to us or Western, but in 2024 when we play them. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They could be a top 25 team by then. I mean, they're a good team. They got the facilities. Yep. They've got everything you would want to go play there. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's just going to be, for me, a fun game personally, but I also think really good because they could be very good by that time.
But yeah, I agree. I mean, Liberty's they're definitely a sneaky team. I mean, you can see that they're trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
No doubt. But I mean, as far as 2020, the schedule for this year, I said to you before we started, I hope to God that this season happens and that you can actually allow the fans to be there, because I mean, Pitt and Boise State within 2 weeks of each other at home. Like, come on, like
especially if we win that first one too, man. Like, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. And Boise, a Friday night game, which I know is not a lot of people like that, but like it's still national TV. I don't know what it's going to be on yet, but I mean that's like could be two of the biggest attended games in the history of the Joan for sure. I mean that's awesome. And then looking at a few other years here, of course it's cool getting East Carolina at home in 2021. App State at home in 2022, and on the road at Notre Dame that year. That's a biggie there.
I forgot about the Notre Dame game.
Yeah, that's another kind of bucket list game for everybody in college football. That's going to be cool. 2023, Liberty and Virginia Tech at home. I like that. I mean, anytime you get a Power 5 team at home, that's always good.
Yeah.
And the last time Marshall played Virginia Tech at home in 2011, there was a big crowd there. It's like 34,000 plus, and it was a good crowd. But so that's good. 2024, I mean, this is kind of an underrated series, the home and home with Western Michigan. I mean, I kind of like that just because Marshall and Western Michigan have history. I mean, they played a lot. They played for MAC championships quite a bit. So it's pretty cool to get them in a series. I mean, it's kind of far to travel, but like I like the game. Ultimately, I like the game. And then, of course, having Army on there, Army and Navy, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, both of those are always great games. We've had both of them at Western, and I think we did military appreciation for both of those. So hopefully you guys will do something like that too. It'll be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it usually does that. That's usually like kind of early conference schedule at home. They usually do a military appreciation game, but I think for those games, it'd be nice to move it up, obviously. I mean, it just makes sense. I kind of also forgot, which I mentioned Navy, but I forgot that Navy is also the 2023 home schedule for non-conference has Navy, Liberty, and Virginia Tech. I forgot that Navy was home that year. That's a big year.
Yep.
It's a big one for sure.
I'm just got to hope the conference is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, no doubt there.
Hope that's
always, yeah. Hopefully we're good. At that point, I don't know what the situation is going to look like. I mean, it's hard to tell, but I'm excited for it. But So yeah, but some cool stuff on this podcast tonight. I like the topics we had. Talked about some pretty cool stuff. I mean, the pod play thing, that's going to be a big topic of the conversation for a while, especially since it's apparently ending. I like the whole listing of the top 10 home games. I think that's unique. I think that's a really cool thing to do. And looking at some of the home games in the future makes you excited as fans for sure. So getting a little bit of final thoughts here, just whatever y'all want to say. Casey, I'll start with you. If you got any final thoughts, just anything you want to talk about or whatever, just lay it out there.
First off, thanks for having me. This was fun.
No problem,
and everything that you do and that Moonshine Throwdown and the towel rack, all that. I mean, it just makes it fun on Twitter, you know? And it's awesome to see, like, growing up, like for me, the only rival that I knew of was like West Virginia. And we don't really get to play them all the time. So now that we have Western, a team that we play in all sports, it's like, it's just nice. Like it's refreshing almost. And I don't hate Western. I don't hate Western fans, but like every time we play them, I want to beat them. And I know they feel the same way. Like, but it's just a fun rivalry. So, yeah, I appreciate what all y'all do on Twitter. It makes it super fun. And I'm just looking forward to this year. I think they're going to have a great team. I think we're going to have a great team. And that's in basketball and football. Like, it's going to be a great year, I think, for our two programs as long as everything goes through. So, with that said, I hope you're all being safe. Like, hope your families are good and that we get through this and we get to watch some sports this fall because I'm pumped.
Yeah,
absolutely. You have to be cautious. You have to play it smart with this COVID stuff. You have to do it. If you do that, we'll have sports more than likely. So just think about the long-term picture. And I also like the point you brought up there about West Virginia, talking about them a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to go on a little rant. Unlike West Virginia, Western Kentucky actually is a rivalry with Marshall. Yeah. The reason West Virginia is not, in my opinion, is because 12 times playing each other in 100-plus years of football and only selectively choosing when they want to play it does not count as a rivalry. That counts as Power 5 elitism to me. Sorry, I just don't like it. I never have ever bought into it because I've seen how the politicking and how the politics turn out with that. I mean, the Friends of Coal Bowl series went on from 2006 to 2012. Marshall got 2 home games in that whole time.
Yeah, and I'm not going to even throw shade at West Virginia fans because I just don't think that's our fan base. That's more them. And once again, I'm not throwing shade. I mean, that's just like kind of what they do. Like that's their thing. And I don't getting these back and forth with like West Virginia fans. It doesn't make sense. Like, what are they going to say? Like, we never really got a fair shot in reality. No. Like, and then same with basketball. Like, I think when we got good and we won, like in the iconic picture of Demir Pitt standing and everyone's on the court, right? It's like we never really played much after that. Like, anytime that we started trending upwards, it was just like they got really, really quiet on wanting to renew anything or play anything. So it's like that. It's just refreshing with Western. Like, even if they have a bad year or we have a bad year, like we show up, we want to win, and we have a good time. Like, win or lose, like it's just fun to be a part of that. And I wish we could do that with West Virginia. I really do, but I'm not going to sit here and like trash their team or anything just because they trash ours. Like, okay, cool, nice tweet, man.
Man, you're a lot nicer to them than I am the University of Kentucky or Louisville. But that sucks though. Like, to me, it sounds like West Virginia's a little bit scared because at least Kentucky, they did play us until we beat them in football back-to-back years, and then suddenly they just forgot that we existed. So, I mean, we play Louisville next season too. We've had some close games with them. I wish we could have got at least one win. Next year could maybe be that. That's going to be tough because it'll be in Louisville. But, yeah, I mean, it sounds like West Virginia is Kentucky, basically. They just don't want any.
Well, they want to talk all the time.
They want to talk and they, all that. I don't know. I mean, that's mainly fans, and I'm not going to – I mean, and I understand that Western Kentucky's in Conference USA, so obviously they're going to play Marshall more than a Big 12 team would. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, at the same time, come on now. They're the only 2 FBS programs in the state of West Virginia. I mean, I'm not saying – I don't think either program needs the other. That's me. Marshall does not need West Virginia. They've had several sellout crowds outside of West Virginia. They've had so many great seasons, excluding West Virginia. And all I'm saying is this is all that I need to say for as far as them not wanting to play in Huntington. The 2 times that they played in Huntington in the Friends of Coal Bowl series, 2007, Marshall was 3-9 that year. They made West Virginia sweat that year and that was when Pat White and Steve Slayton were running roughshod on everybody. West Virginia was ranked 3rd in the country at that point. Marshall had them down 13-6 at the half. They were only down 27-23 entering the fourth quarter before they just kind of the wheels fell off in the fourth quarter, and they made them sweat that game. And then 2010, I don't even want to say it, but I have to say it. I was there. Yeah, I was at both. 21-6 lead. Marshall had it midway in the fourth quarter, and then they choked and lost in overtime. That's why West Virginia doesn't want to play there because of those 2 instances right there, in my opinion.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't. But here's my thing, right? Like, what that does for the state, and I'm sure that I don't know exactly with Western and Kentucky, but you might know more, Jared. But, like, what that does for the state is just so good. Like, I just feel like everyone gets together, everyone's tuned in, everyone's watching. Like, I don't know, and I don't even care really that like we lose. Like, just play us. Like, at least give us the chance.
Yeah, I feel that because even when we played Kentucky, like they didn't want to play us in our own building, so we had to play them down in Nashville in what is now Nissan Stadium, and it was pretty full, and most of it was Kentucky fans, obviously, because I mean it's not too far from the state, just go straight down 65 or whatever. But just being there was a great atmosphere, and it made it even better because Western ended up winning, and just kind of seeing how butthurt all of them were because there was some random old guy that sat next to me and he was talking all this trash, and he said, "We're so much better of a program than you guys are. You guys are the little brothers." Like, well, we beat you all last year. So, and then we ended up winning that one. So it is a good feeling. I hopefully West Virginia will kind of see how it'd be a fun environment for the state, just kind of bring people out, especially once all this virus stuff is over. People are going to be itching to go see some football. I mean, just maybe schedule something at some point. I think that could be good.
Yeah. Last thing I'm going to say about this, and then I'm going to get Jared's final thoughts. Last thing I'm going to say, Marshall, like, okay, here's the thing I don't get. Virginia is so hell-bent against doing a home-and-home with Marshall, but, like, why? I mean, Marshall has had home-and-homes with Louisville, Purdue, NC State, Pitt, Boise State, Virginia Tech. Yep. I mean, no offense, but, like, West Virginia, you're not exactly Alabama here. I mean, you know, and
you can't go 6-6 every year and even come close to comparing yourself to Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's mostly history at this point.
I just don't get it. I mean, it's another topic for another day, but I mean, I don't see what harm a home and home would do. It would be great for the state economically, for Huntington and Morgantown. I just don't get it.
And then so a free win.
Yeah, well, that's what they think at least. Yeah. But yeah, free win, easy trip. So whatever, that's their loss, I guess. But I don't know. Another story for another time. So Jared, sorry about that little tangent there. I know you have some relatable issues there with Kentucky. So go ahead and whatever final thoughts you got, whatever you want to get into, I don't care. Go and shoot for it.
That's all good, man. I just appreciate you having me on. I mean, I feel like I've known you forever through Twitter and stuff. So to actually be able to talk to you has been really good. Because, I mean, you're probably the biggest Marshall supporter I know. And, I mean, all the fun days of my golden era of Twitter and everything, you were a big part of that. So that was cool. But yeah, I mean, I'm just looking forward to seeing what this season brings. I mean, hopefully we'll be able to have fans. That's why it's important to wear a mask now so we can still have football season. So we'll see. Hopefully if you guys are able to travel much and still be able to come to games, make the trip down to Bowling Green this year, see y'all's herd play the Tops. I feel like that's going to be a good game. Mm-hmm. But I hope y'all like ham and pork and all else because it's going to get piggy at the Houch this year. So get ready.
Goodness. I'm already getting peer pressure time in to go into that game from Steven and everybody. They're just like, you got to go. And I want to go. I hope
it's in October too. It should at least be mild enough to be maybe less than 80 degrees by then. Maybe if you're lucky.
Yeah. I would be good. I would love to. I'd love to go. I hope I can. I hope the season happens so I can go, but we'll see how it shakes out. I'm excited for the thoughts of football, but
same.
yeah. So we'll see, but good stuff, fellas. I really appreciate y'all coming on. We'd love to have you on again when we get try to get the full cast back outside of just me, you know, get KD and Steven on here and stuff. So that'd be cool. So y'all can come on whenever you want. I mean, just text me or DM me or whatever. And you're there. You don't even need an invitation, just whenever you, but yeah, good stuff for sure. I'm really trying to fill in this play-by-play thing's hard. I'm usually not in this position, but you know, for y'all carried me a lot of the time anyway. So good stuff. Yeah. I think we all collectively did pretty great. You know, not to toot our own horns or anything, but well, but with that, we've come to the end of this episode. Thank y'all for watching, or not watching, but listening. Thinking of YouTube there. Thank y'all for listening. I don't know if y'all listen how we go out. We usually go out with a go herd and a go top. So Casey, you can take it out with that.
Yeah, go herd.
Jared,
I can say go herd.
Go Tops. Go Tops.
Go herds. Go herd. Yes.
That's iconic. I still love that sign so much. That one lady.
Freaking icon. But Oh, well, that's it, though. So, that good episode, fellas. Thank you all for listening, and tune in next time. See ya.